Welcome, everybody. Our contest chair today is Red O'Loughlin. He is a retired naval aviator and naval captain who has traveled to 61 countries. He is also a best selling author of 5 books, a public speaker, and an independent publisher. Red holds 5 academic degrees and 7 professional certifications, including Distinguished Toastmaster. He has been a member of Toastmasters since 2007. Please help me welcome Distinguished Toastmaster Red O'Loughlin.
Thank you very, very much, Carol. I really appreciate that. Uh, when I joined Toastmasters, my goal was literally to learn how to become a better speaker. I could take a 5-minute speech and cram it into 15 minutes and not even think about it. But what I wanted to do was take that 5-minute speech, put it right nicely wrapped into 5 minutes, be able to have it better organized, but most importantly, not have to have any notes. I wanted to be able to do the gestures that needed to be done. I really wanted the full toolbox full of stuff, and that's what I joined Toastmasters for. My first year, almost a year, I made it before the company decided that I needed to retire early. I was old enough and they no longer needed my services. So I was kind of embarrassed for the next year. I set out because I didn't want to show back up at the company I used to work for. And then finally enough of that. And I said, I really want to get back to Toastmasters. Even at that point in time, I didn't have a focus on becoming a DTM. It just wasn't in the cards. But once I got really active in it, and more importantly, I had some really friendly rivalry. Another guy and I were neck and neck. One day I might be 1 or 2 speeches ahead of him, and then all of a sudden he was a speech ahead of me. And it turned out, I believe, toward the end that he actually got his DTM on a Tuesday. I got mine on a Thursday. So if you're looking for a DTM, that is a way of trying to expedite is get some friendly competition going. The contestants here today, some may want to be a DTM. They may not have made up their mind right now. Some may just want the recognition. A lot want better skills, I'm sure. Maybe 1 or 2 even want a better career. There's many reasons. But the best and the brightest of District 56 are here today to show us what they have. Take a look at them. Learn from them. What are they doing better than you're doing right now? That's what you can pick up from these things. I can't tell you how many speakers I watch and say, wow, I'm really, really impressed with that. I'm gonna have to remember that one. It wasn't easy for them to get here, but they made it. And I think we need to welcome. So I think right now we just do an applause saying, hey, welcome aboard, and we're ready to go. So with that being said, my number 1 man today is Troy Rocket, 2 T's, Rocket. Ladies and gentlemen, Troy Rocket is our Toastmaster tonight. He decided to challenge his personal boundaries when he joined Katy Toastmasters almost 5 years ago. He is a mechanical and designer for a major oil field service company. He's worked in oil and gas for about 40 years. He's competed in Toastmasters Club at the area division and district contest, the past president of Katy Toastmasters, and is currently the immediate past area director for N24. His favorite quote is from Simon Sinek. It says, "The goal is not to be perfect by the end. The goal is to be better tomorrow." Please welcome Toastmaster, competent communicator, presentation mastery 3, Troy Rocket.
Good evening, good morning, or good afternoon, fellow Toastmasters and guests, and welcome to the District 56 International Speech Contest. Thank you for joining us for this virtual event. This is one of Toastmasters' most exciting events, and this evening we will have 7 of our most talented contestants representing the 7 divisions of District 56 and competing for the chance to represent our district at the World Championship of Public Speaking held in August. For these finalists, it has been a nearly 6-month process during unprecedented times. However, like true Toastmasters, they have demonstrated flexibility, adaptability, and most of all, resilience. In the words of Toastmaster John Lente, participating in a Toastmasters contest is a gift, a threefold gift that first you give to yourself, and to your club, and finally to the world around you. The winner of tonight's contest will proceed to the region quarterfinal. Following the region quarterfinals, winners advance to the semifinals for a chance to take part in the World Championship of Public Speaking held in August at the Toastmasters International Convention. Contestants, timers, ballot counters, and sergeant at arms have all been briefed prior to the beginning of this contest. Everyone is aware of the Toastmaster International rules that govern this contest. We do have one change tonight in our speaking agenda. Representing Division P, Speaker Maria Pollard is replaced by Tim Stroud. Our chief judge today is distinguished Toastmaster David Bell. Mr. Chief Judge, are all contestants online?
Mr. Toastmaster, all our contestants are here.
Thank you. With that, let the contest begin. I will now give the speaking order for the District 56 International Speech Contest. Contestant number 1, Brian Honeycutt. Contestant number 1, Brian Honeycutt. Contestant number 2, Cheryl Bradford. Contestant number 2, Cheryl Bradford. Contestant number 3, Ashley Orlando. Contestant number 3, Ashley Orlando. Contestant number 4, Tim Stroud. Contestant number 4, Tim Stroud. Contestant number 5, Samantha Smith. Contestant number 5, Samantha Smith. Contestant number 6, Holly Jahangiri. Contestant number 6, Holly Jahangiri. Contestant number 7, Sabrina Harris. Contestant number 7, Sabrina Harris. We are now ready to hear from our international speech contestants. There will be 1 minute of silence before the first contestant and between each contestant. Timekeepers, when I advise you to do so, please signal me with the green light and provide an audible signal when 1 minute is up. After all contestants have spoken, the judge will be given all the time they need to complete their ballots. The chief judge will then notify me with an audible signal when all ballots have been received. Toastmasters and guests, please mute your microphones and turn off your videos to preserve bandwidth. Before I announce each contestant, I will ask if you are ready with audio on. Please give me an audible signal when you are ready. A reminder, individual recording is not permitted without prior written permission of the contestants and Toastmasters International. Please do not create screenshot photos, audio recordings, or live streaming of any presentations today. I would also like to remind our meeting hosts to not allow attendees to enter the room during the speeches. We will now begin the District 56 International Speech Contest. Keepers, please time 1 minute of silence for the first contestant now and give me an audible signal when 1 minute has expired.
One minute has expired.
Thank you, Madam Timer. Contestant number 1, are you unmuted and ready?
Ready to go.
Audio confirmed. Brian Honeycutt, Inner Dialogue. Inner Dialogue, Brian Honeycutt.
How many of you hear an inner dialogue? Mine is running all the time. Every single morning I debate, do I hit the snooze alarm 3 times or 4? Sometimes it's the voice of caution telling me, no, 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 the 5-second rule does not apply to soup. Other times it's the voice of determination telling me, you've got to get back to the gym. And sometimes it's just a silly voice that tells me that I can dance, even though that is not true. But how am I supposed to know which of these voices I should listen to? Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, and distinguished guests. The most important lesson I've ever learned about which of these voices to heed came from an old secretary, Gretty. I met Gretty about 10 years ago when I moved from Texas up to Michigan. Guys, that was a culture shock. Growing up in Texas, you call everybody sir or ma'am. Doesn't matter if it's my 8-year-old niece or my 80-year-old grandma. It's just a sign of respect. And if someone's coming up behind you and you got the door, you hold it open for them. But I get to Michigan and I call a woman ma'am and she gets offended. She says, oh, I'm not an old lady. And if I held the door open for someone, they'd walk by and sneer at me and say, I can get the door myself. I started to cultivate a more timid, a more cautious voice that told me, don't try to stand out, don't make a scene, just let people get by. I met Gretty because we worked in the same building together, and her office was tucked away in a far corner. If you weren't looking for her, you'd never see her. The extent of our relationship was, if I saw her, I'd wave at her and I'd say hi. One day, I remember I was checking out of the grocery store and at my car and I was loading up, and I saw about 20 feet away, Gretty was in a handicapped spot in one of those motorized carts, struggling to get the groceries in her car. And I remember an inner dialogue started playing in my head. The braver voice in me said, you've got to go help that woman, consequences be damned. But the more timid voice in me said, just mind your own business. She can take care of herself. And I can't tell you how grateful I am that I listened to the braver voice that day. I can't tell you how beautiful the look in her eyes as I stood there and helped her out, as if someone had seen her for the first time. I can't tell you about the friendship that we developed over those years. I'd come by her office and we'd chat. She'd invite me over for dinner and she'd cook me all kinds of things for me and her husband. And every single time she'd tell the same joke. She'd look over to her husband and then look over at me and kind of lean in and say, if you have to tell someone a secret, make sure it's your husband, because he's not listening anyway. And every single time she told that joke, her husband would pop up and say, oh, what's that, dear? I can't tell you how great it's been for the last 10 years getting Christmas cards from her. I've gotten to see her children and her grandchildren grow up. All of this from just a simple little gesture. But there's a reason why I can't tell you about my friendship with Gretty. I can't tell you what her pot roast tastes like. I can't tell you about her kids or what those Christmas cards are. I didn't listen to the braver voice that day. That whole story, that whole fiction is just a lie. something that I made up from the shame and regret that I've had these last 10 years. I remember watching Grady struggle with her groceries. And I remember that inner dialogue playing through, the braver voice competing with the timid, the cautious voice. But I listened to the timid voice that day. I confess this to you because that was Grady's lesson to me about which voice to listen to. That was my way of learning very, very difficult. What Eckhart von Hochheim has already told us, that we pay for mistakes once, but regrets will always bear interest over time. We pay for mistakes once, but regrets always bear interest. I failed that day to be brave in such a small way. And bravery is in such short supply right now. The bravery we need to heal the divisions in our community, the bravery we need the next time we need to help our neighbors during the ice storm or the next hurricane, the bravery we've needed to endure with dignity these last 14 months of isolation. But how can I be brave in these big moments when I couldn't be brave in a small moment? This confession, in order to have value, I have to challenge myself, and I challenge each and every one of you. Listen to that braver voice in your heart, that voice that tells us to act with virtue, regardless of consequence. Because I can tell you, there are plenty of folks out there whose whole lives might be changed by a simple gesture like helping them with their groceries. Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you. Madam Timer, may we have 1 minute of silence for the next contestant now? Give me an audible signal when 1 minute has expired.
One minute has expired.
Thank you, Madam Timer. Contestant number 2, are you unmuted and ready?
I'm ready.
Audio confirmed. Cheryl Bradford, if you fail, try again. If you fail, try again. Cheryl Bradford.
I Have a Dream is a powerful speech that was delivered by Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Although Dr. King's dream is known by many all around the world, he was not the only one with a dream. Contest chair, ladies and gentlemen, all people have dreams. Many people have dreams that succeed. On the other hand, some people have dreams that fail. An unknown author once said that failure is not the opposite of success. Failure is part of success. Therefore, ladies and gentlemen, on your way to fulfilling your dreams, if you fail, try again. Michael Jordan one of the greatest basketball players of all times, had a dream. Michael believed that he could fly. I believe I can fly. I believe I can touch the sky. Woo! How many of you remember that jam from the movie Space Jam? I knew that I wasn't the only Space Jam fan. Michael Air Jordan indeed went on to fly. Now everybody wants to be like Mike, as the commercial says. Michael once said, I have failed over and over and over again. And that is why I succeed. Ladies and gentlemen, I personally found that to be true. When I was pursuing my dream to become a cytogenetic technologist, I too failed time and time again. Failure number one, I was ready, yet not prepared. The month was July, my birthday month, and I was ready. My test was scheduled for a day in August. I studied that test binder inside and out. I tell you that I was ready. Therefore, I decided to spend the entire month of July celebrating my birthday. I jumped from an airplane, yippee! I went dancing, la, 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 because I was ready. However, I was not prepared to hear these words when I arrived at the testing site. I'm sorry, Ms. Branford. You can't take the test without a valid driver's license. It appears, dear, that your license expired, oh my, on your birthday. What? Are you kidding me? I could have strangled that lady. Better yet, I could have strangled myself. I failed to check my driver's license. That was number one on the requirement list. 260 non-refundable dollars down the drain. And I had to wait 3 months before I could try again. Failure number two, I was prepared, yet not ready. I repaid the $260, I renewed my driver's license, and I returned to the testing site. I was allowed in to take the test. However, the test had changed. Do you remember that test binder I told you I studied inside and out? Not one question from that binder was on the exam. When it was over, the word failed in big, bold, red letters flashed across the screen. And I sat there thinking, not again. Another $260 down the drain. And I had to wait another 3 months before I could try again. Meanwhile, during those 3 months, I sought out an expert in the field of cytogenetics. And I begged him to tutor me. Hey, I ain't too proud to beg, as the song says. He tutored me inside and out. When I returned to that testing site, I was ready, I was prepared, and I was successful. I passed the exam. My dream had finally come true. I became a certified cytogenetic technologist. Ladies and gentlemen, I failed and I failed my way to success. How many of you have dreams? Don't give up. In the words of an unknown author, your dreams do not have an expiration date. On your way to fulfilling your dreams, if you fail, try again. Contest chair.
Thank you. Madam Timer, may we have 1 minute of silence for the next contestant now? Give me an audible signal when 1 minute has expired.
One minute has expired.
Thank you, Madam Timer. Contestant number 3, are you unmuted and ready?
I'm ready.
Audio confirmed. Ashley Orlando, what it could cost. What it could cost Ashley Orlando.
Excuse me, we can't hear you in the back. Can you speak up? Said my English teacher. Ashley's a lovely student. I just wish she would talk more in class, said my math teacher. Hold on, honey, let me get to a microphone, said my drama teacher. Contest chair, fellow Toastmasters, and those of you secretly glad your camera isn't on right now. Welcome to my childhood. I was a model student, sweet, smart, and silent. That's right, I didn't have a voice. I mean, I literally had one, but I had no idea how to use it. Have you ever felt like that? Like you didn't have a voice, or maybe you were too afraid to use yours? When I was 5 years old, I learned what it could cost if I couldn't find my voice, if I couldn't speak up. It was a few weeks before kindergarten graduation. My teacher came up to me and said, "Ashley, what would you like to be when you grow up?" I had never thought about that before, but I knew what my mom did. I want to be a mom? My classmates, however, had thought about this question. They started saying things like, "I want to be a superstar. I want to be a teacher. I want to be a garbage man. Yeah." The more ideas my classmates gave me about the possibilities of life, the more I wanted to change my answer. But I didn't know how. So I didn't say anything. Come graduation day, my teacher put an oversized army jacket on top of my blue and white Sunday dress. She gave me a pink plastic baby carriage stuffed with 7 baby dolls to push across the stage. Mom in the army with 7 children, she dubbed me. I wanted to melt into that stage. That was not what I envisioned when I said, I want to be a mom. By the time I was 15 years old, I had found my voice, but I still had a long way to go in learning how to use it. One day in English class, we had a substitute teacher. Party. But that same day, one of my classmates decided to zip tie another girl's backpack to her desk. I saw the whole incident unfold in slow motion. I had plenty of time to realize what was happening, to think about the situation, and to say something, anything to stop it. But I didn't want that mean girl coming after me next. So guess what I did? Nothing. When the bell rang and that poor girl picked up her backpack, she burst into tears. That was when I learned what it could cost someone else if I couldn't find my voice, if I couldn't speak up. Now let's fast forward to when I was 26. By this time, I thought I was golden. Not only had I found my voice and learned how to use it, but I had become a public relations professional, and I had recently traveled halfway across the world to live and work in Paris, France for a year. One night, I was swing dancing in an old underground jazz joint. You know, like the ones in the movies with legendary French singer Edith Piaf singing, Quand il me prend dans ses bras, il me parle tout bas, je vois la vie en rose. I was having a fabulous time with friends, but throughout the night, I could feel my heart tugging me toward a corner of the room where a live band was playing. You see, I really wanted to be up there. I wanted to sing. I jokingly mentioned this to a friend. Hey, wouldn't it be funny if they let me sing a song? Oh my gosh, Ashley, you should go ask. This is a jazz jam after all. I was just kidding. I had traveled halfway across the world to live and work in a second language all by myself. But in that moment, my feet, which were nimble and sprightly just a few seconds before, they bolted to the ground. I couldn't move. In that moment, I couldn't even travel halfway across the room to ask to sit in on a song. So I didn't. I didn't speak up. Now you may be wondering, what has changed between 5-year-old Ashley and the Ashley standing before you today? Well, I got a little taller. But more importantly, I found that missing third piece of the puzzle. Not only did I need to find my voice and learn how to use it, but I had to discover the courage to speak up when it mattered most. Music was my catalyst. I stand before you today as a musician, as a jazz vocalist. Now, some of you watching this may not have found your voice yet, and that's okay. You're in the right place. Because having a voice is a gift that we are all given, whether that's a speaking voice, a singing voice, or a creative voice. It's not a matter of if you will find yours, but when. And in the meantime, I urge you to think about the most important questions. When you do find your voice, how will you use it? How will you speak up? And what could it cost if you don't? Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you. Madam Timer, may we have 1 minute of silence for the next contestant now? Give me an audible signal when 1 minute has expired.
1 minute has expired.
Thank you, Madam Timer. Contestant number 4, are you unmuted and ready?
Yes, I am. Troy, let's do it.
Audio confirmed. Tim Stroud, progress, not perfection. Progress, not perfection. Tim Stroud.
Are you familiar with the phrase practice makes perfect? I know a lot of you are nodding your head up and down to indicate yes. Spoiler alert! We were lied to growing up because only perfect practice makes perfect. Mr. Contest Chair, fellow Toastmasters, and anyone who has ever taken some sort of lesson today, let's practice, 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 and see if we can focus on progress, not perfection. In 1977, I was 5 years old, and two of the top songs on the radio were by Fleetwood Mac and Elvis Presley. My mom and dad would car karaoke and ask my sister and I to join them. It's like my life was a musical. One moment, I'm wearing bell-bottom jeans and singing along with the king. And with a snap of the fingers, the music stopped. It started back up, but differently. A 21 gun salute replaced the drums at my dad's funeral. Everyone said he looked so handsome in his police uniform. They pinned medals on his chest and closed the casket. At the cemetery, I frantically looked around for something, someone who could help me smile again. And then I saw two guys wearing skirts. Okay, I found out later they were kilts. They were playing Amazing Grace on their bagpipes, and then they disappeared over the horizon. Their shrill notes seemed to echo for days, and it's still the most vivid memory of my dad's funeral. My grandmother, Grammy, would later tell me that I stopped speaking for about 3 months. And when I started again, it was with a pronounced stutter. Progress, not perfection. Grammy cajoled my mom into moving into a small farming community on the Mississippi River for a change of scenery. I loved the country. It had dirt roads, snakes that swim, and mosquitoes so big they had antlers. It also had a school music program run by Mr. Bob Donzie. By the 6th grade, I was a sharp-witted, smart-mouthed ball of energy, and I needed to focus. At the end of that year, Mr. Donzie proctored a music exam for all of the students. Inside the band room, he lugged out a huge record player. And then he slid out a vinyl record, and I'm thinking, yes, this is the song of my people. Mom had already taught me about the Beatles, the Who, and the Monkees, all the greats. However, none of my favorites were on this particular vinyl record. Instead, a woman who sounded a lot like Charlie Brown's teacher droned on for almost an hour with her wah, 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 wah. The next day, to get our grades, we had to go into the band director's office. I strode in confidently, okay, a little cocky, and I told Mr. Donzie I may have missed one or two of the questions, and that's when he slid the paper over to me, and I saw it was covered in a sea of red. It wasn't Christmas, so I knew that much crimson could not be a good sign. It's like somebody hit the wrong switch on the record player because his words started to slow down until he mouthed the words, a 44. Holy smokes! You had to score a 70 to stay in the band. Otherwise, you had to go down the hall, dun, 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 and sing in the choir. Mr. Donzie saw the waterworks getting ready to turn on, and he leaned in with a compassionate voice and said, Tim, if you're willing to practice every day over the summer, I'll give you a second chance. Woo! At first, I could not produce a note from that trumpet. And then I learned how to buzz on the mouthpiece. And that's when the magic started to happen. Sort of. Mom politely asked me to practice outside because I was making so much music indoors. Everything was great until the neighbors started calling in their complaints. So I took my concert into the shed with the doors closed in the 100-degree summer. Do you know how challenging it is to play when even your lips are sweating? Progress, not perfection. When school started back up, we had a placement exam to see which seat you would have. There was more than one audible when I took the coveted first chair. One of my friends from the back of the room, Mr. Donzie, Mr. Donzie, there must have been some more mistake. Tim is sitting in the wrong chair. After the laughter died down, Mr. Donzie said, the only mistake is that more students did not practice over the summer. Progress, not perfection. In my journey in Toastmasters, I learned the parallel between practicing music and public speaking. First of all, I was bad. I mean, 6th grade trumpet bad. I was still in the Army, and when someone asked me a question, I used that military jargon. I replied, hula, but I kept failing forward. Utilizing the Toastmasters program and some great mentors, I got a little better each time. I learned that it takes a lot of courage to give your initial speech. Your icebreaker is the first note that you play in your symphony. Who cares if it's a little offbeat or off key? You have to start somewhere. And it might as well be with those who want to harmonize with you. Mr. Donzie taught me there are always 3 performances. The one you practiced, the one you gave, and the one you wish you would have given. As Toastmasters, I think you can all relate. That's why today I'm issuing you a challenge. I want you to tune up your vocal instrument. Go make some music that inspires someone else to sing their song. Just about every speech could use a little more cowbell. So have some fun and always strive for, say it with me, progress, not perfection. Mr. Contest Chair.
Thank you. Madam Timer, may we have 1 minute of silence for the next contestant now? Give me an audible signal when 1 minute has expired.
One minute has expired.
Thank you, Madam Timer. Contestant number 5, are you unmuted and ready?
Mr. Toastmaster, I am ready.
Audio confirmed. Samantha Smith, the last call. The last call, Samantha Smith.
Unit 2365, please respond to check on the welfare. Caller advised they have not heard from their boyfriend in some time, and they received some concerning messages. Unit 2365, I'm en route. Contest chair, fellow Toastmasters, and honorary guests. This was just another day on the job, but today was going to be different. You see, just 2 short weeks prior, I was sitting in the chief's office, signing my resignation letter. I had fallen in love. There were just 2 small hurdles to overcome. 1, I had to move halfway across the country to be with the person I fell in love with. And 2, the person I fell in love with was another woman. This meant I had to come out to my family and tell them something I had known about myself for quite some time. Now, I'm happy to say after the shock factor wore off, my family was very accepting. Fortunately, for my then girlfriend, now wife, she faced a very different scenario. Her father, upon hearing the news that she was with me, another woman, sent her a text message that would shatter her world and enrage me. That text message read, "If we were back in Russia, I would chop you up and feed you to the pigs." Unit 2365, I'm on scene for the last call I'd ever take at that department. My partner and I arrived to a 3-story complex, and we were immediately met by the caller, who was a bit frantic, explaining they had not heard from their boyfriend in some time. A neighbor stepped out and actually knew the caller, so they went ahead to sit with them while we went forward to investigate. My partner and I approached the door and we knocked loudly, but there was no answer. We looked around, but we couldn't really see anything. But based on the circumstances, we were given permission to go ahead and make entry. I positioned myself in front of the door as I drew my service weapon and I dropped my shoulder, busting in yelling, "Police! Police!" I was immediately looking in a living room while my partner advanced behind me. I turned once behind him and then once again, staring down a hallway when I heard the sound click. Now in law enforcement, that's a good sound. It means my partner holstered his weapon. There was no longer a threat. So I went ahead and holstered my own. I was about to exit out of the apartment when he said, "Hey, come in here." I took a few steps forward and I found myself looking into the master bedroom. It was dark, but there was just enough light peeking through the window when I saw the body. A young man was laying in the bed. He had a bag over his head with duct tape around his neck and a tube slithered underneath the tape. That tube was connected to a tank on the ground. That young man was deceased from suicide. 2365 calling dispatch. We've been apparent suicide. Roll medics to my location. Had been a cop for about 4 years at this time, and I'm grateful to say I had never actually found someone deceased on a suicide. But this was a crime scene, so as I began to exit out of the apartment, I found myself back in that original room. A piece of paper caught my eye. As I went over, I began to read what appeared to be a suicide note. See, this young man described how life in general was just stressful. Everything from work and friends and family. And then it hit me. See that caller, that frantic caller who was so concerned about their boyfriend, was a man. And this young man ultimately described that he took his life because his family rejected him for being gay. Could have easily been my wife, writing her own suicide letter, simply for living authentically and loving me. You know, my wife and I, we faced many moments of discrimination over the years. Everything from awkward stares and verbal arguments to even the need for a protective order for the safety of ourselves and our children. And it is 2021, and we have come a long way since the Stonewall riots in 1969, but boy, do we have a long way to go. We share 3 beautiful children together. Our 10-year-old son, he told me one day as I stood there proudly at the bus stop, as I always did, that he got into an argument with another student. You see, this student told him that couldn't be me, his mother, standing there. No. That must have been his father, maybe his brother, uncle or cousin, or simply just any other man, but not me. All because I have short hair. Our 16-year-old son, he should never be concerned about going to high school and facing a bully just because he's proud to be a young gay teenager. No person should ever face judgment or hate for who they love or how they identify. So I stand here. I stand here in vulnerability And I stand here in courage. And I implore you all to push past the judgment, let go of the hate, and simply just love one another. Because someone's life depends on it. You see that young man? That young man who laid in that bed with that bag over his head and the tape around his neck? His life depended on it. My own wife whose father sent her a text message and said he'd rather see her chopped up and fed to the pigs. Her life depends on it. And it could be anyone. It could be your own mother or father, brother or sister, friend or colleague, or even your own child whose life depends on it. In 2365, I'll be 10-7 for the last time. Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you. Madam Timer, may we have 1 minute of silence for the next contestant now. Give me an audible signal when 1 minute has expired.
One minute has expired.
Thank you, Madam Timer. Contestant number 6, are you unmuted and ready?
I am ready, Mr. Toastmaster.
Audio confirmed. Holly Jahangiri, a different kind of grief, a different kind of grief, Holly Jahangiri.
Sometimes we have to let go. Abraham Lincoln said of friendship, though passion may have strained, it must not break our bonds of affection. The mystic chords of memory will swell again when touched, as surely they will be, by the better angels of our nature. Mr. Toastmaster, honored dignitaries, fellow members, and welcome guests. Social media has sought for decades to redefine the meaning of the word friend. Right? It appeals to those mystic chords of memory, prompting us out of nostalgia to reconnect with the bullies who taunted us in grade school, or the ex-boyfriend from college, or maybe the girlfriend with whom we once shared our most shallow secrets. We friend our great Aunt Thelma and our third cousins, thrice removed. And just as Facebook introduced us to friend as a verb, we are learning to unfriend. And it breaks our hearts to do it sometimes, but it also brings us peace of mind and freedom, because sometimes those better angels are nothing more than fabulists. For years, we've agonized over cutting ties with family, friends, colleagues, and neighbors over their problematic social media posts. After all, it would be unloving and unkind and overly harsh if we just cut people out of our lives every time they make a mistake, or whenever they say something that's thoughtless or unkind. After all, let he who is without sin cast the first stone. But I don't believe that social media makes monsters of nice people. In fact, it often reveals a very real side of us that we have not been taught to conceal online, as if online were an imaginary country populated by imaginary friends, like Las Vegas What happens online stays online. But that's not how it works, is it? I know people who claim that they've received death threats over posts that they've made on social media. I believe them. I know people who can no longer suffer in polite silence at the dinner table. They won't be attending Thanksgiving dinner with the family because they've come to realize from seeing what their family shares on social media that the people they thought loved them unconditionally really do believe that some people like them, are aberrant or so repugnant that they deserve to die. And I know people who believe strongly in freedom of expression until you disagree with them. It's easy to say, well, let's just agree to disagree. And that works if what we're disagreeing over is pineapple or anchovies on pizza. You eat pizza your way, I'll enjoy mine my way. Then if we have to share the pizza, we ought to be able to compromise. After all, we can skip the pineapple and the anchovies and just enjoy a cheese pizza. A good conversation between friends. That's just good resource allocation and diplomacy. But the central issues of the day run deeper than a mere difference of opinion. A good friend of mine once said that she believed that politics was religion manifest. Politics speak to our core values. And when we're standing across a chasm from our friends with no bridge between their core values and ours, it's a little harder to reconcile than the difference of opinion regarding pineapple or anchovies. I believe the sadness that we feel over alienation from family, loss of friends, it's the severing of social media connections is not grief at losing the person. They have not died. What has died is the notion that they were ever who we believe them to be. We see that layered veneer peeled back. We see the whole self that they have not brought to the office. And that hurts sometimes. We feel grief at realizing that they were just fictional characters in our heads, that they are not better than that, as we desperately wanted to believe that they are. And those fictional characters, our imaginary friends, they have died. We want to believe that we can rewrite them, that we can fix the flaws we only just now realized that they had. But we can't. And I fully believe that without the space to screw up, to apologize sincerely, and to make amends, to be forgiven, to be allowed to try again, people will not grow and change for the better. We do not kick our children to the curb every time we're angry with them. We shouldn't do it with the people we care about either. They'll just lick their wounds and find validation and acceptance within their echo chambers. But no one is owed unconditional acceptance of what we find unacceptable. Just because we like and admire other things about them. And sometimes, in the end, the kindest thing we can do for ourselves and for them is to cut each other loose and mourn what never was. Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you. Madam Timer, may we have 1 minute of silence for the next contestant now. Give me an audible signal when 1 minute has expired.
1 minute has expired.
Thank you, Madam Timer. Contestant number 7, are you ready and unmuted?
I am.
Audio confirmed. Sabrina Harris, anxiety, anyone? Anxiety, anyone? Sabrina Harris.
Have you ever experienced some level of anxiety in your life? Have you ever tried to explain what those experiences are or were to others? It's not that easy to explain. Have you ever been judged by someone because you told them that you dealt with anxiety? That only made you feel worse. A lot of people want to know what it feels like. Some people want to know, how did you get it? Or why do you have it? Some people have these crazy, outlandish ideas about why a person reacts the way they do when they're having an anxiety attack. People react differently to anxiety. Here's a brief definition of what anxiety is. It is a feeling of worry, nervousness, or unease, typically about an imminent event or something with an uncertain outcome. Most of the time when we worry or are nervous, it's because we are fearful of the outcome. My speech today is not a lesson on anxiety. No, it's not. I just want to talk. I just want to talk about my experience with anxiety. Mr. Chair, Mr. Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters and guests, a long time ago, someone told me that I am outspoken. Right, that's hilarious. But the truth is, I don't always say everything that's on my mind for fear that the hearer may get offended or take what I've said the wrong way. Well, over the years, I started holding things in and not being so expressive, even with my own feelings. Now, I did not learn then, but that was one of the reasons why I started having issues with anxiety. And it didn't stop there. While I started holding things in, I also worried about things a lot, and I had a sense of fear. Whenever I would get upset or angry, my heart would start palpitating, and it would be difficult to breathe. That was a very scary experience for me. And it happened quite often. I believe it started in about 2009. One day I had an appointment with my gynecologist. I was in a hurry. I was running behind schedule, but I was worried about some things. I had a lot of things going on that had me extremely worried. I wasn't feeling well, and I literally felt like my head was about to explode. While sitting there in the patient's room, my blood pressure was checked. It was 140 over 100. As the doctor walked into the room, she was extremely concerned about why my blood pressure was so high. She said, Sabrina, what's going on? Are you worried about something? I began to tell her the things that had me bothered and what was going on with me. And she suggested that I see my primary care physician to get my blood pressure checked out. I received some disturbing news later that day, which caused my blood pressure to go even higher. I got it checked out later that evening, and it was 169 over 110. I made that appointment to see my primary care physician the next day. The doctor prescribed a blood pressure medication. That medication didn't help me at all. After some time, I saw a different doctor. He prescribed a medication that's specifically for performance anxiety and high blood pressure. He typically gave this medication to his patients who are athletes or public speakers. This medication did help in that it lowered my blood pressure, but it did not stop the anxiety nor the heart palpitations. After venting my frustrations to one of my coworkers, she had the same situation. She told me to make an appointment to see her psychologist. I made the appointment to see her psychologist. I knew that I was not crazy. I knew that I wasn't losing my mind, but if I was crazy and if I was losing my mind, I knew that this was just the thing that I needed to get me back on track. I saw the psychologist for about 6 to 7 sessions. Each session was totally life-changing for me. I learned that I had bad perception because of the way I process things mentally. Over the time of all of these sessions, I definitely saw an improvement. I knew I wasn't supposed to worry about things, especially things that were out of my control. I also learned that it was beneficial for me to express my thoughts and my feelings, but say them in a better way. That's good for the hearer and for myself. My fellow Toastmasters, if any of you are dealing with anxiety, I suggest that you seek professional help. Know that you're not crazy. You just need help with how to process things mentally and how to get your emotions under control. A strong spiritual belief system also helps with getting over anxiety. Today, I have a better perception in life. My faith in God is stronger, and I deal with anxiety less and less as the days go by. If you are dealing with anxiety, it's okay. Don't beat yourself up. There is help and there is hope. I highly suggest and recommend that you seek advice from a family member or a friend. Make an appointment to see an experienced psychologist. Develop a relationship with God. And by all means, take some time for some self-reflection to help get your emotions under control. Anxiety, anyone? Nah, who needs it? Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you. Everyone, please remain silent while the judges complete and submit their ballots. Mr. Chief Judge, please send an audible signal when all ballots have been received.
Mr. Toastmaster, all ballots have been received. If you would, please have the Zoom host move the ballot counters and the chief judge to the breakout room.
Thank you, Mr. Chief Judge. We will now get to know our contestants a little bit better with a short interview while the ballots are tallied. Contestants, please unmute your microphone and turn on your video when I call your name. We will conduct interviews in the contestants' speaking order. Our first contestant was Brian Honeycutt. Are you there, Brian?
I sure am, Mr. Toastmaster. How are you?
I'm doing wonderful. How are you doing, Brian?
Doing pretty good.
How long have you been in Toastmasters, Brian?
I joined Sugar Speakers back in fall of 2019, so close to 2 years now.
And you are currently representing that club today, correct?
Correct.
And what is your Toastmasters education level and pathways?
I'm at level 5 on the persuasive pathway. Almost there.
Perfect. Brian, I see one of your hobbies is perfecting a chili recipe. Have you ever competed in a chili contest? And what's the most important ingredient for a good chili?
That is a great question. I competed in I think it was the Classic Chevrolet 2018 cook-off, and we won for the specialty recipe. The most important ingredient is fresh peppers.
Fresh peppers. That sounds good. Thanks a lot for sharing that advice, Brian. Please mute your audio. Our next contestant was Cheryl Bradford. How are you, Cheryl?
I'm fine, thank you.
How long have you been in Toastmasters?
Going on 3 years now.
And which club are you representing today?
Determined to master speaking.
And what is your Toastmasters education level and pathways?
I'm currently on level 2 of the humorous speech.
Perfect. Cheryl, I see one of your interests is horseback riding.
Yes.
What is the most important piece of advice you can share for riding a horse?
Do not get on anyone's horse. Make sure the horse is well trained if you are a beginner. Best advice you could possibly take.
Thank you. I will note that advice next time I go horseback riding. Thanks a lot, Cheryl.
You're welcome.
Please mute your audio. Our next contestant was Ashley Orlando. Hello,
Hi.
Ashley. How long have you been in Toastmasters?
I joined Spring Ahead Speakers in November 2017.
And what is your Toastmasters education level and pathways?
I have completed the Engaging Humor path and the Dynamic Leader path, and I think I'm on level 2 of the coaching path now.
Great. Actually, I see one of your interests is jazz music. Who is your favorite jazz musician or singer and why?
That's an easy question to answer. My favorite singer of all time, even outside of the jazz world, is Ella Fitzgerald, because she could match any trumpeter, just about any instrument with her voice, and her scatting ability is renowned. So yeah, definitely Ella Fitzgerald. I love singing her songs and trying to scat as well as her. It'll take me a long time to get to a close level.
Great. Thanks a lot for sharing, Ashley. Please mute your audio. And our next contestant was Tim Stroud. Hello, Tim.
Hello, Mr. Toastmaster.
How long have you been in Toastmasters?
You know, Troy, sometimes it feels like 15 minutes underwater. but I joined in 2003, and I took the same approach to Toastmasters as I did the pathways on Toastmasters. I was very active with specific clubs, and as I transitioned from Fort Hood to Austin to Houston, kind of lost my way, got back on there, and I have tons of credits, and I got to bring them all together for that notorious DTM.
Great. And which club are you representing today?
Are you kidding me? With your headset, you should also be a member of the JSC. That's the Johnson Space Center Toastmasters. They told me to say that. I'm not a what guy, but they get it.
And what is your current Toastmasters education level in pathways?
Oh, Troy, we went through that. It is just like, oh, throw one. I've been through like all of the past. I'm on the mentoring trail right now. As soon as I get that one and some service to the community, not court mandated service, but Toastmaster service, get that DTM.
Great. Tim, I see one of your notable accomplishments is you ran the Olympic torch in the Atlanta Summer Games. How exciting. Tell us more about that and how it made you feel.
Lies, all lies. It was in Cape Girardeau, Missouri. And the beautiful thing about it is that we had Rotary, Toastmasters, Chamber of Commerce, all working together. And all three of those groups put names into this big turnstile. My name was one of the ones in there. They plucked it out and I was like, what, really? And I got to choose which leg of the race I wanted to win. And it was sponsored by Kodak. And I took the first leg. The torch is about 5 pounds, give or take, with all of the oil in it. And they put me up with an Olympic athlete. Holy smokes. I think this guy was like 9'16", and it was a chore to stay up with him, but it was a lot of fun.
Thanks so much for sharing that notable event with us, Tim. Please mute your audio. Our next contestant was Samantha Smith. Hello, Samantha.
Mr. Toastmaster, how are you, sir?
Wonderful. How long have you been in Toastmasters?
It's been about 4 years now.
And which club are you representing today?
Find Your Voice Toastmasters.
And what is your Toastmasters education level in pathways?
I have completed my level 5 of effective coaching.
Perfect. Samantha, I see you are a volunteer firefighter. What inspired you to serve in this most important role of public service?
Well, former police officer, as you all heard in my speech, unfortunately, an injury took me out of that due to some back issues, and still had the need to be out there and serving, and was able to transition into a volunteer firefighter status, which actually is recent. I just started in October, and I fought my first house fire about 3 weeks ago. But what drives me is just being out there, being able to help the community and being able to serve. It's truly my honor. So from law enforcement to firefighting, it's just about being out there and being able to serve.
Thanks for sharing that, Samantha, and thank you so much for your public service.
It's my honor. Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster.
Please mute your audio. Our next contestant was Holly Jahangiri. Hello, Holly.
Hi, Mr. Toastmaster. Did a beautiful job of pronouncing my name.
Oh, thank you. I practiced.
You must have.
How long have you been in Toastmasters?
It depends on how you calculate that. The first time I joined Toastmasters was about 35 years ago with Citgo. Joined probably their first corporate club. And I rejoined in 2015. And I don't think there's any record of me with the original club, but 2015.
And which club are you representing today?
I am representing Cypher Super Speakers today.
Great. And what is your current Toastmasters education level in pathways?
I've finished level 5 in dynamic leadership, and I'm now working on the humorous path and the presentation mastery path.
Excellent. Holly, I see one of your interests is travel. What's the most exotic location you have visited in your travels?
It's a really good question. When I was 5, I think the most exotic location perhaps was Senegal. And my kindergarten teacher called me a pathological liar and called my parents into the school because she said nobody takes a 5-year-old child on a cruise to Africa. And they had to explain to her that, yes, they did. And she was not happy at being called out and being the one that was incorrect. So she spent the rest of the time trying to torment me about the shots that I would have to travel. So you can imagine I was not at all upset to get my vaccination so that I can travel again, I hope, soon.
Sounds wonderful, Holly. Thanks for sharing.
Sure.
Please mute your audio.
Sure.
And our next contestant was Sabrina Harris. Hello, Sabrina.
Hey, Troy, how you doing, Troy? How you doing, Troy?
I'm doing well.
Great.
How long have you been in Toastmasters?
Since August 1st, 2016.
And which club are you representing today?
Sit Go Boys. Woohoo!
Great. And what is your Toastmasters education level and pathways?
Oh, yeah. So I am in level 3 of innovative planning.
Perfect. Sabrina, I see you have published a poetry book.
Yes.
This is awesome. I love how poems can paint a picture in our minds and make us feel a certain way.
Absolutely.
What is your favorite theme in your poems?
Peace. Peace is my favorite theme, and I wrote a poem on peace, and that's my favorite poem, and it is in that book.
And the name of the book is?
Lyrics from My Soul.
Lyrics from My Soul.
Yes, Lyrics from My Soul. It is on Amazon, and I also have copies that if anyone wants an autograph and purchase an autograph copy, then hey, call me.
I'll be first in line, Sabrina.
All right. Appreciate it.
Thanks for sharing.
You're
Sabrina.
welcome.
Fellow Toastmasters, let's give all of our contestants another big round of virtual applause. Fellow Toastmasters and guests, it has been my honor and pleasure to serve as your Toastmaster this evening. I would like to thank all contestants for their participation. In the words of Oliver Wendell Holmes, what lies behind us and what lies before us are tiny matters to what lies within us. What lies within you and within all Toastmasters is an attitude to grow. At this time, my duties as your Toastmaster are complete. I now return control to our International Speech Contest Chair, Distinguished Toastmaster, Red O'Loughlin.
Thank you so very much, Troy. I thought you did a fantastic job today, and I want to give you another round of applause myself because you really and truly were the Mr. Toastmaster today. I thought you did a magnificent job. Thank you so very much. It was a pleasure to listen to you today. We do want to spotlight our winners today. So the 7 contestants, if you will make sure your videos are active at this time, that when the judges finally get around to letting me know what the final results are, it's going to be a whole lot easier for them to find you and you're actually there and ready to go so that you can be spotlighted when the awards are announced. So if you'll go ahead and make sure you're active on video, keep your audio off at this time. At least that way, when they're trying to find you, you're there, and it should work a little bit better than it did this morning, we're hoping. Anyway, I do have a few other things. Troy, David, 2 people on my team today that really did a fantastic job of helping me get here. The other chair this morning, Humorous chair, Fatima Jones, again, a marvelous job in doing the intros and everything this morning. I really appreciate that. Keith Romaine, I've known for a number of years. I've been in the same clubs, and again, his background, help, and everything. I have to mention him. And one of the other people I just met today, who's actually been an amazing help, is Jennifer Goulin, and hopefully she will have the slides ready for us when that is done. I know that we typically have the district director or the program quality director to announce the final winners. If either one of them are around and want to do that, I will certainly hold myself back and allow them to do that. Please make that known to me and we'll have that happen. In the meantime, I'm still awaiting some notification that we're ready to go. Beyond that, what else was, what's, in my mind today, I heard some amazing, one of the things I really pay attention to is facial expressions. And when you had a real close face and you're watching everything go, you can tell that they're emotionally caught up in what they're doing. It's just not a memory work. They are connecting with the audience, because it's one of those things that, yeah, we see all the back and forth, but when you see those faces, the eye, the brows, the everything going on in the face reflects what they're thinking. And when you see that, then you know that they know their speech so well, it's just part of what they're doing. And I saw that several times today, that a key point that they wanted to make, the facial expression was there to back it up. And that's hard to do if you're just giving a speech, that's one thing. But a speech of this quality, you want to have that emotional connection. And a lot of that doesn't come from just the hands or the fingers or whatever else. It comes from the body presence coming out of your face. So I'm going to just point that out as one of the things I noticed today. And it's one of those things I try to, when I evaluate other people, let them know how good a job they did. I am not seeing any slides come up at this point in time, so I'm guessing that the judges are still doing their thing back there. So
Yes, sir, that's correct.
that is correct.
We are still awaiting results.
Fantastic. Okay. So Troy, it sounds like it's you and me right now, doesn't it?
Yes, perhaps we could ask our district director if she has any comments or any
Ms.
news.
Rose, are you available to comment for a moment or two, or even Joe, program quality director? Going once, going twice.
Here I am.
Hello, Rose.
Took me a minute to get here. You guys were fantastic. As everyone does when you're going through a contest, you take your notes. And the only thing I can say is, I am so glad that I am not a judge. Because we're all winners. And I hope you're very, very proud of what you did, of the levels that you've gone through, the process that you went through, the growth that I've even seen in some of your presentations. Kudos and congratulations. And I know that you're a better speaker for it. So thank you for taking the time and investing in yourself, and for the passion and the knowledge that you share with us today. It's been awesome. And again, for everyone who's behind the scenes, for those of you who are functionaries, and I'm just gonna go ahead and be serious. Troy, I just love to hear you speak. Every time you say something, it's like, oh my, I love to hear your voice. So thank you, one and all.
Thank you so much.
And thank you, District 56, for sticking with us all day long. I will relinquish some time, as I do always, to Joe.
Thank you, Rose. What a great contest today. Oh my goodness. You're right, Rose. This is going to be a difficult decision. I just want to remind everyone that we do have 2 breakout sessions immediately following the results. Those are success at attracting new members and DTM testimonials on strategy to reach DTM. You will have to exit this meeting to go to the next session of your choice. And a reminder, all these sessions are being recorded. If you go back into Whova, into the agenda, you can see the ones that we have up there. Please be patient. It takes a while to convert these videos, but we will have them, whether it's today, tomorrow, or next week. They will be in our D56 YouTube channel for your viewing pleasure. Rose, you have any other words of wisdom for us? How are you feeling?
I feel good, but I promise you, I'm going to sleep well tonight.
It has been a long day.
It has been a long day. And I think when I hit the bed, it's going to be just me in that bed. And I'm sure I'm not the only one. Did you sleep last night, Joe?
I was up late converting those videos. So I hope members are taking advantage of that. And I have to say, it's been a long time since I've seen Red. Red, you're fabulous. Thank you for your service. As usual, Troy with 2 T's, Rocket, you are awesome. The contestants were awesome. All the volunteers to put on this show, unbelievable. You guys have really stepped up and made this spring conference our very first virtual free conference a success. So thank you, each and every one of you.
Hey, Joe, give accolades again to the Hall of Fame technical people. I think they deserve it one more time.
Oh, the Hall of Fame technical people?
Mm-hmm.
You mean you want to hear it from me first?
I want you to go ahead and acknowledge them. Yeah. One more time.
That Jennifer, Melissa, and Chandra have been inducted into the District 56 Hall of Technical Fame. And I'm sure they will be doing their acceptance speech in a Toastmaster club near you.
I love it.
Madam Program Quality Director, I'd like to give an announcement as a part of my speech. Results are in. Mr. Contest Chair, we are ready to roll.
Fantastic.
Thank you,
Then,
Jennifer.
if Joe and Rose are done at this point in time, I guess we're ready to go to the slides. Jennifer, you gonna bring them up? We need to go down to the contest part. Okay, here we go, the results. Can we have a little bit of drum roll, please? I guess I'm the only drum roller tonight. This is for dramatic effect. Okay, a drum roll. Tim Stroud, 3rd place. Congratulations, Tim Stroud. Tim, we're trying to get you on Spotlight, so hopefully you're still active, and we're going to wait just a moment. There we go. The guy with the great haircut.
Thank you, Red, so much. I had a blast today, and I am so excited to represent JSC Toastmasters and the 100+ people that are on this right now. I hope that you guys and gals will come cross-share, come to my club, and we can have people go to your club, because in a virtual or hybrid world, I think that's how we're all going to get better. Thanks, Red.
Thanks a lot, Tim. Really appreciate it. Thank you. And now another drum roll for 2nd place. Ashley Orlando. Let's go ahead and get Ashley up there. How we go? Great smile there, Ashley.
Hi, thank y'all. Wow, this is pretty crazy. Especially as a
congratulations on 2nd place.
Thank you. Yeah, as a kid, I never would have imagined myself competing in a speech contest, let alone in Houston, which is an enormous area. So thank y'all. It was a great learning experience.
I think it's thank all y'all.
No, I'll always use y'all, just y'all. That's my plural. I'm from Louisiana, so.
Okay. Thank you so very much, Ashley. Really appreciate your performance today. Another last final drum roll. And today's 1st place is Samantha Smith. Samantha, congratulations. You are #1 in District 56 in International Speech Contest.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Truly an honor to be able to share the speech and be recognized. So I greatly appreciate the honor and being able to move forward.
Great speech today, and I enjoyed it tremendously. And I believe at that point in time, my script here says, that's it. The contest is adjourned. It's kind of a hard way to go out, just boom. But again, Tim, Samantha, and Ashley, really appreciated your performances today. And I'm sure at some point in time, you'll get actual copies of those certificates. So thank you all very, very much. And the technical people in the back can go ahead and do whatever they need to do to get ready for the next breakout, the next section, whatever that Rose announced a couple minutes ago. Or Joe announced, I believe. Again, thank you so very much, Troy. Thank you a lot, David. And I will catch you all later on.
Congratulations, everyone.
Bye, y'all.
Congratulations, everyone.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Excellent speeches.